That was good news for us. It's yeah, it's good, that they are coming out with short when this product, when the market is actually very down, oversold region. It's a good product to sell for them, not for the people who buy it. But yeah, it's not a place to short.
Sure.
So they have done this before also. I think Sierra has also mentioned that, um, when I think in 2020, you can go to the Twitter handle and see it. There's a post about it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very timely. I think the timing of it is just perfect.
Yeah.
Especially with all like you mentioned before, the bear euphoria. And people just thinking, that's it. This thing's dead. I knew it. I've been saying it since 2013. Finally, I can throw all my
Making money
money
from, yeah,
throw all my
making money
money into
from
a
bear.
naked short ETF.
So many people are calling for the prices to go down that it's the best product for them to use. If somebody is planning it's going to zero, might as well short it from this product. But eventually what will happen is that this product will increase the, it's good for Bitcoin because it will increase the possibility of trading Bitcoin, and people can hedge their positions, and so it's a good thing.
Right. It's
Mm.
maturity of the market, right?
Yeah, like, yeah, if we take it very positively. Otherwise, I think it's just created for personal reasons. But of course, it'll be good for the market.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just continuing on here. This is maybe like over a week old. Yeah, about a week old. This was a really good read. Just it's kind of a bold claim. Algorithmic stablecoin is impossible. DeFi is not really DeFi, and I mean you could argue about that, but this is really interesting here. The yield was not sourced from sustainably profitable economic activity. Rather, the parent company transferred portions of its treasury to Anchor that continue to keep it propped up. So it's just something, again, to keep in mind with uh, different things going forward. On Impossible Things Before Breakfast. This is a fantastic read. I recommend everybody taking a look at this. Um, Very timely, and as well as
Wha-
you want to look at that. You want to talk about that again, or look at that.
No. Yeah. What do you have to say about it?
Oh,
This
it's just, it's
this
just
article.
a it's just a really good read. Just kind of looking at what is DeFi and sort of the illusion of yield, and is basically looking at, if there's not a sustainable source of income, then it's just basically a elaborate Ponzi. Um, uh, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's jump over. We'll jump back to some of that in a moment. Let's jump over here for a moment. All right. So one of the main things I wanted to go through today is finding finding the supernova. This method that I have been using since 2018 to find these deep picks, and with good success. And so now I'm compiling this, and we'll be sharing that with you guys in this series. So let's just jump right in. Okay. So, finding the supernova. So basically, call it unicorn, call it whatever you want. the idea is to find these deep picks early on in their life cycle. And once they become a supernova, you want to be selling into that for obvious reasons. Because after the supernova, it's it may not be as beautiful as this Crab Nebula here, but the time to sell is at the peak. So where do we begin? So we basically want to determine our selection process, and there's a lot of different ways to find projects. You can have a approach from a top-down perspective, or bottom up. Top down being sort of a casting a broad net and sort of funneling selections from there. Bottom up would be a little different, sort of just finding specific projects. And then we want to talk about allocation management and discuss the framework for buying. And of course, for all of these, Subverto teaches us how to trade effectively, and so we still want to utilize technical analysis in our entries, exits, and profit taking. And then also we'll talk about a mental strategy that's very different than normal trading. So as I mentioned, top down is casting a broad net, and you just narrow it through specified parameters that we'll talk about. Bottom up, you can find these projects, something that catches your attention, whether it's something that somebody shills, that's if maybe they have a good track record of finding solid projects. Maybe it fills a niche and has some extraordinary attributes, market fit. But you must be extremely selective, because you can really get bogged down in everybody's shilling all kinds of stuff. We still have many thousands of projects out there. All right, so I've created a 5-step process and named each one. The first step is what I call dragnet. You take certain parameters and apply it to different projects or sectors. So we kind of want to identify a sector and then drill down on specific projects within that sector. And we have to ask ourselves, is it some novel sector advancement? And then also we want to consider fundamental developments. Is there some new network effect that is playing out? Is the tech being built out? Layer 2 solutions, for instance, Lightning Network. Lightning Network is something I believe that it will allow smart contract layers on Bitcoin to achieve functionality and being able to scale up. Regulatory progress, some of these things that I was really bullish early on, maybe just didn't have a good idea of how long things would take in terms of regulatory proceedings, like tokenized real estate, securitized token offerings. Whether or not those will see an eventual rise is to be determined. And in terms of adoption, you may have heard this critical mass. There's these sort of milestones that once they're achieved, whether it's adoption or whatever, it just kind of ushers in a wave of speculation, and we can see price markups from there. And you can sort of keep track of these things through a few methods: monitoring unique active wallets, TVL for DeFi, and using adjusted. It basically takes the takes the price factor out of the equation and looks at more of a true tracking of the locked value. Grants, funding, well accumulation, things like that. Looking at some examples, entertainment, GameFi, NFTs, things to keep an eye on. So looking at the fundamental analysis of projects, just sort of another way to reframe our focus here. Is it a solution to a real problem? Does it have some competitive advantage, some unique value proposition, and what are their resources and their credibility? And so I've created a scoring matrix, and I will be sharing this later on, but in depth. But for now, I just wanted to look at what comprises the matrix. And you can see here, each of these things, we would want to apply to any project we're considering investing in over the high time frame for this step 2, which I call the sieve step. So each of these things, I mean, you'd really have to dig in for each of these to get a good idea of just where the project fares in terms of this. I mean, this can take substantial time, but you can really get a good idea of the future prospects. For instance, a lot of you who know me, you'll hear me talk about quant, but I applied these methods in 2018, mid 2018, late 2018, and going into 2019 to find various projects. Quant scored really high, FTM scored really high. Interestingly, Thorchain, we found it when it was like $1.5 million market cap, and it for some reason only scored mid-tier. So I've gone back through and I'm revamping, to see what was it that caused Thorchain to not score quite as high as some of the others, and I mean, maybe there's nothing. Maybe some things is just you can't catch every one of them, and some of them just will maybe not score high and still run 2700x like Thorchain did. And this is sort of a rehash of the above, just looking at different attributes and qualities and making assessments of the project we're looking at. Within that, we'll take a look at sort of relative market strength, but you have to be careful with some of these small caps because you can't really compare them to some of the blue chips and some of the bigger ones, because if you have liquidity issues, it'll just make the price dance all over the place relative to others, and it's not as applicable. We want to look at exchange availability and liquidity to go along with that. But I will say, again, there are assets. To catch an asset really early, you may not want it to be on an exchange, on a big exchange. So I would say you have to be careful how you score that. I'll just leave it at that. We'll talk more on it later. Volume over time, that's kind of important. You want to see some continued volume. Is the project completely dead, or is there some volume in it? And then just kind of a general snapshot of the chart. When did it become available? What's its market cycle look like? Did it pump early on? Has it had a pump cycle, or did it just dump? These things can weigh in on your assessment. All right, so I can take a break for a moment. This is something Sky created. It's a fantastic worksheet. Basically, it helps frame up one's analysis for finding that supernova pick. Um, Sky, can you talk a little bit more about this sheet?
Yeah, can you just go to the next sheet, finding alpha first? That is then. All right. So this is about finding the projects in their early stages. So what do you should be looking for when you are looking for some new projects? What are the criteria they should fulfill in your checklist, and what you should be careful about? So in the early stage, the most constant variable is the equation is often the team. So if the team is reliable, it's credible. If you want to dig more into the fundamentals, then starting off with knowing the team is a good way to start. So find people you respect who know the founders and ask about their strengths and weaknesses, etc. You can do this by joining their community pages. You can do this by joining their Telegram and Discord. And then you ask yourself, would I work with this person? If yes, that's a good sign. If the person is credible and he's answering, doing meeting the deadlines and is generally credible. Then the second is the size. Then you size the opportunity. You think about the market size today and theorize how big it could become. So be generous with your predictions, because crypto is one of the fastest growing industries in the world. Familiarize yourself with memetics and the theory of reflexivity. So you have to see how what is the opportunity which is presented by the domain in which the particular project falls in. And for example, Web3 is there; it's a big opportunity. NFTs, when it came out, then it was a very big opportunity. So we have to first think of the future growth which may occur because of the lack of lacuna in the space. So third thing is that you use the product and see how it feels. What is the use case, and if this use case is valuable, and what is the value it is providing, and what is the problems it is solving. So yeah. So fourth one is customer calls. So you can talk to users if you join their community. You can you're already familiar with Discord, and most of the good projects have communities on Discord, and you can see how they are interacting with the community itself. If they are delaying their projects too much, if they are delaying their deadlines too much, it means that there is something wrong, and you have to be very careful because there are so many scams in the space. And usually what happens is, if a project is working more on marketing and rather than on its fundamentals, then you know that there is something wrong. So you have to see there will be a roadmap, and there will be deadlines on various things which the team is required to do.
Yep.
So if they are prolonging the deadlines too much, and if they are postponing it, then it is a sign of to be cautious. And I've seen many coins in 2017, 18 where there were mostly it was just rug pull schemes and Ponzi schemes where people had just spent most of their money in advertising and marketing, and there was nothing behind the project. It was not solving anything. It was not There was no use case, or it was a fork of already established coin, and they were just replicating the main coin. Like for example, there were a lot of folks of Compound, there were a lot of folks of Aave, lending platforms, and most of them, they just copied everything which was presented by Compound on or Aave. So you have to see that if the project is just a copy paste of a bigger project, and they are using most of the money which they have collected by selling their tokens for marketing only. And you will see that in the community also. If you join some Telegram and you only see calls where community is saying when good news or when is the good news coming, or when is the
Yeah.
big news coming, or
Oh yeah.
there is an event which is lined up, and there'll be a pump because of that. So there will be a pump, of course, for the first three times, and fourth time there won't be anything. So that's how trading works. And see, the use case for crypto is a long term game. It's a decade long game where crypto actually comes about. But still we have certain projects which can, you can play. Otherwise you use your technical analysis, but for fundamental analysis, the basic is that you don't fall into a trap or a Ponzi scheme. So you should be not be naive after joining Subverto, and you should be, intelligent enough that, don't do any pleb level activities. So joining the community and is looking at these things. Then fifth is transaction traction analysis. So now you have to see what is the level of traction the project is getting. So for example, in web3, a lot of projects data is on chain and accessible through products like Dune Analytics, or you can use Nansen. You can use even Glassnode. For some of the projects are listed there also. So you can see on-chain activities in these certain sites. So and you should be able to use these tools before investing in such coins. If you're playing them on perpetual futures, or you're just playing them through TA, then it's a different thing. But if it is a long term pick for you, then you have to do all this fundamental homework, fundamental analysis homework.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned
So
Dune is really good, and Nansen
yeah.
as well. And just talking about the fundamental stuff. I mean, we will get to that where we're going to review some of these uh, highlighted picks on stream, and we're kind of just continuing to revamp our analysis methods, and it's yeah, but we want to also make sure that people have a good understanding of how to find these. I mean, we don't want to just show you here's the pick. That's definitely. I mean, that's not what Subverts is about. I mean, anybody that knows has been around. I mean, we like to teach people kind of how to fish, sort of thing, and not just give them the fish. But you mentioned Nansen, Sky, and I got this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got this slide uploaded. It took it a moment. That's a really good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so like if we start from Etherscan, that is the basic which everybody should know about, and it is a great site. Like it is a block explorer detailing all that you need to know about what is happening on chain. You can monitor notable wallets, dig through transaction history to find sources, interactions, and much more.
Oh
So
yeah.
Etherscan smart contracts search the amount of alpha I have found with this tool is unbelievable, of course, and I think everybody has used it. It's like search engine for smart contracts. This is useful for connecting GitHub code to deployed smart contracts. It has to be done meticulously, or you will not find success.
Mm-hmm.
So, since we are often open source, crypto project devs tend to publish code for everything there, and this can reveal an unannounced partnership, new protocol feature, or other leaks. It's also helpful to get an idea of who is active in the ecosystem. So, Etherscan is one of the must. Then you need to know the devs. Then, like who is that we already spoke about, the team and the devs which are working on the project. Third is a Cipher Hunter. Cipher Hunter has got to be one of the most useful data library for everything DeFi. It shows you team members, portfolios, related projects, and tons of other in depth information on just about any protocol you can think of. So, this is one of the important ones. Glassnode and Nansen, we already have that in our Discord. The reports are coming, and Nansen is a good tool for deep picks. And this DNS scanning also, this you can do it yourself, where you do the DNS scanning on your browser, you can see all of the various subdomains and other DNS records attached to the project with a
Mm.
simple search. So it's a great tool. And if you know programming and all, then this space becomes much easier. However, if you don't know programming also, then also there are so many tools to find information which would be sufficient for you to make a decision. But if you do a little bit of homework, then it is possible. So there's another one called Gitcoin, and this also is very popular. And it has lots of projects, post specific bounties, and where progression is linked to the contributing devs.
Interesting.
This is where you can find what is being worked on, and its current status. So yeah. And last one is the hackathons. And now you know that like Ethereum ecosystem hosts tons of hacking events featuring top talents across the globe every month. This is where many foundational ideas are created, materialized, and expanded. So hackathons you can keep an eye on. So these are few of the techniques and tools which you can use. Rest of it, you join the community and see how the development of the project is taking place and whether it is organic. If it is very artificial, you will get to know by the how they are doing the marketing, and
Right.
how at the news events the coin is behaving. It just, if it is only pumping on news and on dumping on news, then if it is only doing that, then it is a sign to be very cautious. If
Mm-hmm.
there is a steady growth and good chart formation, you can see the bottom is rising gradually over time. So that is a good sign. Bottom of the moves. Or if you do basic ta, you can see, even if you do Elliott wave or any other, if you do any other form of ta, where you can see organic growth, fib levels are being respected,
Yep.
or other technical levels are being respected, it means that it is an organic growth which is happening on the coin. If there is just straight away dumps happening, and
Mm-hmm.
no organic support is being given in the
Yep.
market, then it means that the team is taking out liquidity.
Yeah.
They use
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You want to see strong hands, right? I mean, you want to see mature investors in this stuff. And it's kind of like whenever you see something on a chart, there it's telling us a story, right? And you can get some inference behind what could be going on with the way, simply just with the way price is acting over the long term. That's
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
Yeah. So you see, like when you see charts, you see that an asset which is a good asset, it will have an organic growth which is happening. So of course there is manipulation in all the markets, but you will see, for example, you see gold chart or Bitcoin chart or big asset charts, you see that they respect technical levels, because those technical levels have been derived from human psychology also, and natural fractal formations also, and
Mm-hmm.
many other things. But when you that's why it is very important to see a chart like that, and which has an history also, and which has an organic growth. But and on the other side of things is a chart where you see pumps and dumps,
Mm-hmm.
and you see rug pulls, and you see no organic growth and no respect for technical analysis. So that is a sign that there is no organic growth happening, and it's artificially created demand and supply from the team. Yeah.
People are drawn to that, though. You know,
Yeah.
people are drawn to that glass pipe pump. You get
You can
that
make money
fix.
from the Ponzi's. You can make money from the but to make money from the Ponzi's, you don't have to be naive. You don't have to be a pleb. If you're a pleb, then of course you won't be able to make money, because initially when you're a pleb, you get attached to your investment, and if you have seen paper returns of your investment, and you haven't even sold it, then you just wait and hold on for very long, and nothing happens, and team has run away with most of your money.
Yeah.
So biggest thing you have to be careful of is that you don't deposit your money or put your money in something where the team is made up of crooks. There are many crooks here.
That's why, yeah, exactly. That's why it's important to really dive in deep and look into the background and I mean, I would go in and find, I mean, all these people's connections and like the dev and the team if they're on LinkedIn, look at their, basically like their work history, just their achievements, what people were saying about them. I mean, all of this stuff, you got to dive in deep because it's all going to add to this framework of giving you confidence, for your pick, because you can't have a ton of picks. You can't get spread too thin, and that kind of leads into the next sort of step here, which is what I call the trigger phase. Basically, figuring out which one you're going to pull the trigger on, and basically you want to have an entry plan, and you're going to be using some components of risk management, but it's a little bit different because we're not defining invalidation zones necessarily. I mean, you can on high time frame, but I mean, for the most part, like this is just trying to get optimized entries using technical analysis, and ideally you want to lower your cost basis over time. You want to buy these range extremes, buy at the bottom and then sell a little bit, to free up some capital to then, add back in later. That's the more challenging method, requires more patience and monitoring and technical analysis skills. It's the easiest thing to do, and it's tried and true, is just to have a time frame and you effectively just dollar cost average. Now, a lot of people will sort of frown on that method, but I mean, it is tried and true. Now, we can use additional technical analysis methods within this DCA method. So, in other words, you can combine your TA to determine your optimal entries, and then you don't try to attempt to get these take profits on the way up. You're basically just accumulating. You're just adding to your bag over a period of time. And I'm going to talk about how to do this, but effectively you want to just set limits to your allocation amount and how much you can put in based on your time horizon. And so you can then it's kind of like a drip release of your capital. Let's say you have a certain amount of capital you want to put in. Your time horizon is accumulate over 6 to 12 months. Let's just say 6 months. Then each week a certain amount of that becomes available to you to deploy. It's not saying that you have to. That's where we can use the TA, and you can use dynamic levels. As an example, RSI 30. It's not that's not one that we added into the equation. It's not one that we use this just solely. We want to use confluence, and in our buys. And so continuing on, you have to have a game plan for this, how many picks you want up front. And because you really don't want your asset count too high. I say 6 is ideal, maybe 10, but that's a slippery slope, right? I mean, before you know it, you got a collection of 50 coins, and what most people don't realize, like it's easy to click buy and just keep adding coins into your wallet, but it becomes so difficult. I mean, with each one you add, I mean, it's exponentially, the difficulty exponentially increased. And that factor rises, with each asset count, because it's more labor that you have to then monitor. You have to monitor for the fundamental health of the project. And you have to monitor for, your technical analysis for when you're going to be taking profit. You have to monitor all that stuff against the backdrop of, where we are in the macro cycle. So that's why I say 6. I mean, that's my target for this cycle. I'm going to choose 6 deep picks. And, up to 10, I'm going to kind of leave that open. I mean, maybe some people are a little more adept at managing, but really just want to target 6 and stick with it. And that way you're more convicted on the asset itself, and you don't end up selling it too soon, on a whim or whatever. Let's see.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Sky?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that see now finding shitcoins is great when a bear market is on. The risk is already market has reduced your risk. If you're doing this in bull zone, then you always have a risk of losing everything. Right now, the if you do the basic research of finding a coin which is having a credible team, then you might the high probability you won't lose money, you will gain only. For example, if you see ADA chart, see ADA chart, and from 2020 and from 2019,
Oh, yeah.
it was at point 0.02, and then it went till I think 2 or 3. I think it went to 3. I think, yeah, almost 3. Yeah, so so point 0.02 to 3 it went, and the team for ADA, there was, if you had done a little bit of research, you would have managed this, because there is a good developer. The idea is good, the team is good, even the community is good. Yeah, community was being supplied with relevant information. There was no scamming of, pump and dump
Yeah.
happening in the charts. So you can see all those charts also which have performed in the which were a great pick in the previous bear market,
Yep.
and just see them and look at those projects and then try to find it. That is also a good strategy. Just that.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. One another way to kind of think of this,
Hmm.
I like to think of it like keeping the picks low. Just going back to that, is like just thinking of it kind of like cross leverage on your time. Your time and your
Yeah.
attention's your capital. I mean, you're gonna get liquidated on your time.
Yeah.
You get so many, you simply can't manage them. But yeah, we can projects like ADA, and there's plenty of other examples we can look back, and luckily, I have analyses of a lot of these projects from when they were in their infancy. So we can, I'm going through that to help build out and improve my methods to see, what really stood out, what's something that could have been, weighted more potentially to help make a better assessment on these assets that have run 100, 200, x. I said 2700x earlier. Thorchain was the one I was referring to when we found that one.
Mhm.
So just
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a special case. I mean, that's that's ludicrous.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah. But things like that will happen, and another alt cycle will come. And it might take a longer time. It's right now it's just that the prices are very low, and it's just we are in the middle of the bear market. I don't think it's finished, but you can if you start scanning, and I don't know when the new next alt season might come. The next alt season might, there might be few bounces here and there, but
Sure.
alt season might the cycles, how we have seen alt cycles, 4, 5 year gaps are there between the next cycle. So you keep all that in mind before allocating your money. But if you start scanning right now, then you might be able to find something which goes 2700x.
Yeah,
So
you could. I mean,
yeah,
it's rare,
the
but it happens, and
opportunity is there,
yeah.
and it has happened already. Yeah.
And I think the main thing is like not underestimating how long it can
Hmm.
take. You know,
Yeah.
I think back, 2018, 2019. I would get sums of cash through, from here or there, and I would think, oh yeah, this will last. I'll just DCA in over 6 months. But the thing is, if you don't set your plan extremely clearly and stick to it, that money's
Yeah.
gone in a few weeks, and then you're just sitting. You're just sitting there where, whereas you could be, truly accumulating and um, decreasing your cost basis, increasing your position size, as opposed to just like having to just, all right, I'm fully exposed here. So just kind of continuing on, bottom up approach, effectively for this. If you hear about some project, we would just throw it in and start at step 2 on this process. So that's all I wanted to mention for that. So now we get to allocation management, which is what I was talking about just now. Creating that structured framework for your buying. And you really have to do a lot of thinking up front on how many positions you expect to buy, and how many assets you expect to have. And like I said, I'm going to target 6, and then how long you expect it to take, knowing full well that it can take longer, or being okay if suddenly we do have a pump. You have to simply be okay to just leave money on the side and not chase stuff.
Yeah, and allocation should be very, very small from your portfolio. And because right now the good thing is that everything is very, very cheap. And for example, ADA was 0.02. So even if you had $100 in it, that would be a lot. So the thing is that that's why in bear market you can afford to take this risk and have a great reward opportunity available for you by you only losing that amount of money, which is your throwaway money. So, and you always have to keep in mind that any team can leave the project and take your money away and go do something else. They will say that you have purchased the tokens and from us, that is completely illegal, and you can they have sold you the token, but token is not worth anything because nothing is happening in the project.
Yeah.
So that is with most of the coins. If there are thousands of these projects, 700 will be like this.
Yep.
So you have to that's the thing. So you can diversify, and you can but less money, $50, $100 like that, so that depends upon I'm just saying that depends upon your portfolio. But always be mindful that the money can be taken away by the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The rug pull can occur in a lot of different ways.
Mhm. Yeah. The teams might not even intentionally do rug pull, but the project may die just because
Sure.
nothing can happen, beyond a certain point.
Yep.
If there is a why the people look down upon mem coins and there's dog tokens and everything, is because there's nothing happening there. It's just like hype and frenzy. Of course, all these hype and frenzy is lovely to play from TA when you can see,
Sure.
you can chart it with correlated assets and you can see relative strengths and do all those TA techniques. Then you can play the moves directionally in a shorter time frame. That is a different story altogether. But doing fundamental analysis to pick coins, then you need to have some solid projects. So like ADA was in 2019-18, it was
Yep.
a great pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Fantastic.
or, or Thor chain was a great pick. So like that. Yeah.
For sure. So here's the allocation worksheet
Mm.
that I created. Now, I'm actually going to share this with you guys, but all you got to do is join Subverto Discord. It's free for 3 days, and you can check it out, and you can jump in, and you can go and get this tool there. So I am going to show you guys how to do that real quickly. Give me just a moment. All right, so, and we can talk about the new website a bit. So here it is, subvertotradingclub.com. Super easy, 3-day trial. Jump here, click on yes. Now, all you got to do, you don't have to put a real name in. You can put your internet name and email address where you can verify. Click there. Johnny Too Bad. Join now. And let's try it again. All right. And then it'll take you here. Click on Join Discord and you'll see Wave Ripper. Yep. All right. And then authorize. That's it. Then you'll be in. And as simple as that, guys. And from there, let's see. Get back to here. And once you've joined the Discord, all you have to do is go find operations. And I have dropped the link to this worksheet there. Now let's talk a little bit about the worksheet. This is such a powerful tool for so many reasons. You know, it helps you establish your goals, your framework, your time horizon, so that you can have an objective measure to fall back on and just stick to this. So it's effectively, if we have $20,000, let's say, we want to put into the market. Now I've created this so that all you have to do, the only things you have to change are the green, not this one, the green cells. So let's say I put in the start date, fictitiously is 5/1. I want to start with $20,000. Now, 6 months, 26 weeks. That may be a little short, but who knows? Maybe we could have a mini pump and then continue on with the bear market. Who knows? The main thing is we want to break this out and into, you know, an objectively measured approach. And so this will auto calculate 51 days since the start. So it'll effectively tell you how much capital you're allowed to use each week for each asset. And so it's calculated this as, we can put in $3,300 of our initial capital over 6 months is $127 per week that we can access. It doesn't mean we're just, you know, you could play it that way and just say, you know what, I'm just going to put it in. I'm not going to look at price. I mean, but we like to use technical analysis, obviously, as our bread and butter. But since, you know, long-term allocations for a supernova pick is a little bit different, you still want to use technical analysis to optimize your entry. And over here, I have reserve, like if you have extra money that you get, you know, maybe you're throwing some money from your paycheck or otherwise that you're getting over time to the initial amount, you know, then we have injections. And so we go down here and take a look, 6 projects, you know, each table is down below. So all you do is fill in this information and then everything else will result. And then you can use TA to, you know, as each of this money becomes available, or you want to add an injection, you know, you can look for levels of confluence and make optimized entries on this stuff. You know, you can buy it, and then, like, okay, so let's say you want to play a range or just take some profits and just be really patient. You take some, and then it'll add it into the take profit category, which is then calculated outside of your injection. So it will tell you up here all of this information. It'll tell you, like so Bob took profit, and there's some other buys and sells down here that I didn't grab. But this will tell you at today's date, what is your max allowed allocation based on this figure per week, right? So it says you're allowed $930 at this point in time for your allocation. Maybe you haven't deployed that amount, because the TA, like, it doesn't look good, or your price didn't hit, or maybe you have. Or like if you take profits here, like I have for Bob, for this asset called Bob, then it will calculate that and decrease your cost basis and tell you how much you're actually out of pocket from your initial allocation. So since I've took some profits, you have to input this manually over here, the injections, because there's some things that will depend on that variable. So I added an extra $200 before this. I was allowed to do this. So this was an injection, and then it tells you how much allocation you have remaining. So, if I could put $930 at this point, I'm 51 days into this plan. It's telling me I still have $558 that I could utilize. I could tap into, utilize technical analysis and Confluence to buy strong levels. It's a really cool tool, and it will help you keep a measured approach on accumulations. So it's more than just DCA. We're going to combine DCA, dollar cost averaging, and technical analysis, and optimize entries, buy and sell, and lower that cost basis over time. And it's a really good way to track it. So guys, just if you want this tool, join the Discord, and you can go to the operations channel and grab it. All right. So we're going to move it on forward and wrap it up here shortly. We're just over an hour. So just looking back at this, already mentioned some of this stuff, kind of just using a time release method to optimize our entries with technical analysis, and creating these allocation goals to keep ourselves objective. And then step 4 is just sort of a long-term monitoring of these supernova picks. When you want to use TA, you want to make sure the team is meeting milestones. Just like Sky was saying, monitoring the Discord channels, and just make sure they're on track. There's no red flags being thrown up. If you do your due diligence up front and really be selective and dive into this stuff, and it's going to be unlikely. It's just going to make it less likely that it's a scam or some nefariousness is going on.
One thing to to add to this,
Sure.
if to identify, whether the project is a scam or not, you can see that if they have engaged or hired a lot of people to trolls, or like people who are just taking money to send messages on Discord, and you can identify that by seeing that many people are agreeing with each other, and you will see that you can, if you have an eye for it, and you can develop an eye for it also, if you're actively looking for it, you will find out there's something wrong with how people are communicating with each other. It's not organic, and everybody is not like just praising the product and sending like any kind of memes, or that up only, and so that kind of atmosphere, if it is there, if there's community, there genuine people asking genuine questions, you can figure that out also.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. It's kind of like, it goes in hand with maturity of the team, maturity of the investors, maturity of the community can say a lot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were so many tokens with there are people, marketing people, who take money for pumping the account, and they'll make like five people will make 50 accounts, and they'll be messaging from different accounts, this same things, and same kind of opinions. So you can figure that out if the project is just using the money for that kind of marketing. So that is also a useful indicator that it's not a great project.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, exits. Obviously we're going to be using technical analysis for exits, um, and there's some other methods that I'll talk about later on that have been successful for me as well. And the last thing I want to talk about is the mental strategy. And when you're looking for this supernova asset, you got to really have a different mindset versus standard trading, or even like a high time frame trade. I mean, this is very different and than most other trades. I mean, I guess it's sort of like your standard investor mentality, but it is and it isn't, because most investors don't expect some token to go 2700x, right? I mean, that's just, let's be real. So you have to, you know, you have to accept that an asset can go that far before you actually ride it that far. Now, I'm not advocating for just blindly riding an entire position all the way to wherever, anywhere near that. We'll be taking profits all the way up. I mean, you have to just take chunks off, especially once an asset gets, just goes haywire. You just want to be taking constant profits. Um, but for these assets, I mean, you really have to compartmentalize your mindset towards this versus any other trading, because it can affect your other trading if you aren't careful. So you really want to keep your approach to these types of assets very different than say like some of your other trading. Like, you don't want to have that hodl mentality for your trading, and you don't want to let it infiltrate your trading so that it could adversely affect your strategy, your like lower time frame strategy. Um, and so just looking at methods of like who could have envisioned such a run for Thorchain. Um, it's kind of crazy, but I have developed some methods that point to where some of these things can go, and with really good accuracy. I used it with quant all the way up, and for instance, like when quant was at $15, I had very specific targets that hit and exceeded my expectations, but they were in the high 300s, low 400s range, right where it went. But as I said, you also you can't you must also not be a fool. You can't ride an asset 300x all the way up and all the way down. Um, and you can't hold on to too much also, and that's where your strategy beforehand really comes into play. You kind of have to have a strategy of how much you want and what your goal is, and then you have to be a little bit flexible if the market is done, if the macro market is done, if that asset is done. I mean, you may think you don't care, like, oh, I made a lot of money on this, I don't care. But once it corrects 90%, you'll probably care. um,
Yeah, and you should also you can also always take out your initial investment
oh, for sure,
in due time,
for sure.
and just play with the profits only if you just want to be lucky, because it's just like luck game, at the end of it.
Yep.
You can reduce the possibility, and by doing all the fundamental analysis, and that will make it not purely luck, because if you have put in some work, of course you will be able to find good ones. But eventually you are betting on something which will happen in future if the project does well and the team stays credible. So the best way is to keep play with profits only if you have made those profits, and if and have your stops and everything, just play it like a normal, with normal risk management techniques which you have learned here in
Exactly.
Subverto. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So there it is. I mean, Actually, that what you can't see down here is research, fundamental analysis, and then we start entering once we decide on our pick. And then as the supernova occurs, taking profit all the way up. And then boom,
Yeah.
CNBC's bullish. Jim Cramer's all in. You want to have it off the board.
When your pleb friend is buying it and he has not done any fundamental research, and you know that he's very new, then also that is one of the signals, because usually it's the marketing people, they have done such a great job that even your grandma wants to buy that token.
It's
So,
it's wildly accurate. You can usually find somebody whenever they show up or talk to you about it. Like, that's done. It has happened.
yeah,
It has
yeah.
happened 3 times with one of my relatives. He's so risk averse, but man, whenever he contacts me, he's like, I think the next time I'm done. Like, I'm gonna be listening, because whatever his circle of exposure is, whatever it is, has him, so that whenever he contacts me, I mean, the top is within a few weeks. So
Yeah.
it's pretty good. So I think we'll leave it at that. Next week, let's see. Yeah, we went over the website.